Hi, everyone. I'm Carlota Pico from the Content Mix, and I'm excited to be here today with Vincenzo Aprile, who is Oceans Apart Senior Social Media and Campaign Manager and has over 9 years of experience in marketing and communications. Vincenzo, welcome to the Content Mix, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Carlotta, and welcome also to you, to my bedroom, to my house. Since we are all at home, but
Yes,
yeah, thank you
Corona
so
time.
much for the invite. Corona time, exactly. Thank you so much for the invite.
The pleasure is ours. Vincenzo, to start off the interview today, I'd like to learn a little bit about your background, how you got to where you are today, and what you're currently doing.
Okay, first of all, I'm not in Italy now. I'm in Berlin, but I'm Italian, Sicilian for the specific, from Syracuse, and I moved basically to Rome and Milan to basically proceed with my studies in brand management and marketing. And then I have been like for 5 years around agencies working with the huge brands as a Sky TV all over Europe, I guess is known, Swatch, and so on. And then I decided to move to Berlin for like a huge opportunity in the sport and fitness area. That it's a brand known all over Europe. That is Spring. And right now, as you mentioned, I'm a senior and a social media and campaign manager for Oceans Apart, a sportswear company just for women.
What makes Oceans Park particularly interesting? For example, is it attached to a certain label or brand or type of lifestyle?
I think it's a mix of everything. First of all, I believe that Oceans Apart is very good at creating a huge community all over Europe. Right now, we are like focusing the marketing in France, Germany, and Italy, but we basically deliver worldwide. And I think that the most amazing stuff on Oceans Apart is the community, because our manifesto is basically to say, even though we are oceans apart, we are one. And I think that most of all, in this period, it's amazing to say something like that as a brand and communicate it, because it's what basically helps you to connect to the other people and create it like a huge community. So the community is basically also for me like is the first step as a social media manager. No.
I was about to say that of course it makes perfect sense that you would be extremely excited about joining a company that cares so much about its community because you are a social media expert. I will be talking a little bit about your experience in social media across the past 9 years. But before we get into that, I still want to learn a little bit more about Oceans Apart. It's a vegan friendly company, right?
Yes, basically our clothes are totally vegan. You might say, okay, but what's wrong with vegan with no vegan clothes? How is possible? Well, right now, maybe in 2020, it's quite easy to be vegan as a cloth company, but there's still a lot of usage like leather or other kind of fabric textile that it might be not that vegan. We are basically 100% vegan, and we are proud of it, of course, and we express to our customers, and it's something that basically they appreciate it. And mostly when we approach also to some influencers, they are very excited to say, oh my god, finally someone is really vegan. So yeah, it's basically one of our value that we live, because what our values is basically a conscious lifestyle. We want to express this also in our community, and this is something that we started to do with the product, and then we also try to implement in our communication. But
Right.
there are people that for sure they will say community first, but community first thanks to product first, and that's something that we basically center focus a lot.
Mhm. What makes you passionate about social media, and what advice would you give to inspiring community managers?
Okay, so I guess I need to come back like 10 years ago when basically social media was started to be something. Because it's been more than 10 years that we are like in this social media era.
Yeah.
And I will say that I've been always curious about what's going on with this kind of new connection with other people. So Also when I was basically moving to another city when I was studying, it was a way actually social media to get to know the culture where I was basically living. And this curious that sparked in me, basically it's something that now I deliver in my basically job, everyday job. So what I will say for sure, just be curious, but like in a real way, not like, yeah, I'm curious about, I read some blogs. No. Get dirty, like your ends must be dirty, and you need to test a lot and be curious, see what the other are doing, replicate, but gets better. I think it's something that I always do in every job. And when they see, how do you see our brand? When they ask me, oh, how do you see our brand? And I say, okay, but what do you want to be? And so, we don't know. It passed it passed like that. They asked me, we don't know what to do on social media, but we know that you are expert, so maybe you can test it. Okay, let's do it. Like, I was basically spending night and day looking what other competitors were doing, but also what we were doing. It was working, because only when you do like a proper analysis. I know that maybe it sounds very common to say starting from analysis, but when you start to study marketing, the first lesson at the university is like analysis first. And if you don't know what's going on around there, you can't understand how to upgrade and become the number one. So that's where you have to aim it, to be the number one, of course, even though if you're not going to reach, because there's a lot of huge company over there, and just be curious.
Definitely. That's incredible advice to give inspiring community managers. You were talking about always trying to be number one. And trying to be number one goes hand in hand with KPIs, right? Key performance indicators. How are you measuring your KPIs on social media?
I think it's like a manner of a huge cooperation with the other department, because for sure we all know that a company is made of revenue. In order to achieve those revenue, you need to understand what brings you revenue. So you need to understand how your community react in order to have that revenue. It
Mhm.
might be just engagement rate, remember, on reach and not on followers. And for sure, it might be also a single swipe up to the stories, or more links into Facebook link, or I don't know. It can be also like a voucher code that you put inside your podcast. Just imagine that there are so many trackable KPI that you can put inside your ordinary content that makes you understand if something is working on. You just need to understand how your community reacts. If your community react with new launches, so you understand that you need to produce a lot of product, so you go to research and development, and you say, our community wants this and react more on this, and we just understand that during a new release there's a huge revenue peak, so maybe we can go on releasing a lot of new products. Or maybe we just understand that there's a lot of reaction with voucher code, because I mean, let's be honest, who doesn't like to have voucher code in order to save money and have more? So it's okay to do voucher code. You just need to understand how you can make it in order it's profitable for you and for your community. So that's basically what I would suggest. So, I mean, there's a lot of KPI over there. It might be the reach, it might be the engagement rate, it might be the swipe up to link. Just listen to your community. Is the first thing that you need to know in order to understand how you can achieve those goals, that in any case will be revenues. But how to achieve that? There are like single steps, the funnel:
Yeah.
awareness, engagement, and purchase. But how do you get awareness and engagement to reach the purchase? So you can have in a single step. It can be also with different platforms. I mentioned the podcast. We can mention TikTok, that it's now basically spreading all over the world. But I mean, it's been there for a while. So yeah, there are like for sure so many KPI that you can take control. And for sure, there are not just one unique KPI. And this KPI is not going to work in all company. Every company has different KPI in a way they approach to marketing.
Excellent advice. I would like to focus on your company right now, Oceans Apart. You recently joined the social media team, and I want to talk about how you're communicating to your audience. Oceans Apart is an e-commerce website that offers 100% sustainable and vegan-friendly activewear, as we touched upon at the beginning of our interview. From a social media point of view, how are you differentiating your brand from other brands out there that also offer eco-friendly sportswear? Because according to my research in 2018, one out of every six products launched in the UK, although I know that you're in Germany, but in the UK carried a vegan claim. So that's quite a lot of competition out there that are also fighting for a space in the eco-friendly atmosphere, environment, communities.
As you say, there are some trends that are not covered in all the markets. And there are also a lot of niches. We just know that we should focus more on niches and not on mass media, in mass audiences. So what I will say is just to, as I said, listening a lot what they say, even though going through the DM, direct messages, they usually we just give to customer service and doing customer service. Try to understand what's the approach that the customer has with your product. It might be there is more into details. It might be there is more into voucher code. It might be there is more into the quality, the ingredient, or just they love us because we are fun. So from this kind of listening approach that you have to your community, then you can understand what kind of content you're going to produce. So what I'm saying again is that analysis, it's also just staying on social media and commenting every single comment to your post, to your ads, to your direct messages, and try to understand what people are looking for. Once you get to know each other, then you can create content. Until you're not listening them, you're just someone who's just posting beautiful pictures on Instagram. It might work maybe in a way of engagement rate, but remember that our goal is not engagement rate, it's purchase. So I want an engagement rate that gives me like that basically try to make a broad road towards the purchase. And this engagement rate can be created at the beginning. Is not going to work for sure, so don't get stressed. If I just imagine, let's be some proper example. When I arrived in Oceans Apart, I was looking that there's a lot going on in the feed, like we are not posting them much details on the product, but people are looking to know how this fabric is made of. Or we just post 3 times per week. Why? Why don't we post more? Why don't we post less? What's the process? So in the first time, I mean, I've been here for 1 month and I'm doing a lot of test and text, different texts. So I just engage people. I just engage people with product. I just express and go for educational posts. And I want to see how my community is reacting, just to understand where this community is coming from, because then you need also to understand how you approach this community. In Oceans Apart, for example, is made basically from influencer marketing manager. So here it's quite important to understand the scouting of the influencers that brings me community. Because just an example, in Facebook, in Foodspring, when I was working in Foodspring, it was made basically for performance marketing and for other kind of tools, also influencer. But when you have a different kind of touch point with the new customers, you need to understand how to approach them. So if you have a lot of performance ads that are basically into food, you can't not have in your feed food content. Otherwise, I mean, I guess everyone just touch on the ads and say, who are they? I go in there and I see totally different product, totally different approach, and say, there's something wrong here. I mean, it looks like a scam. So you don't want the people think that of your content. So try to create, as I said, the funnel: awareness, engagement, purchase. Awareness is also our performance ads.
Hmm.
because it's how you get to know each other. Engagement, it's something related to awareness, but for sure you need to engage and give more and more info regarding your product or your service. And then, of course, try to achieve the purchase. That it's basically what we want to have.
Throughout our interview, you've been speaking a lot about how important it is to listen to your customers, to listen to your community, to engage with your community, because certainly one size doesn't fit all. And from my research, you're currently present in Italy, France, and Germany. Does that mean that you're also engaging with your community according to local cultures, according to local interests, or are you doing it all one size fits all type of strategy?
You can't. There's for sure this not acronym, but say the glocal. No, you go global, but you act local, and in some way, I might say that the 80% is for sure global, but then you need to adapt. I mean, lately in Italy, there was like a huge topic about this coronavirus, and for sure also the lockdown that was very strict. You can't expect that people react in the same way of Germany, where the lockdown was there, but not that strict to allow them to go outside and uh, training at the park. Just to let you know, in Italy, we weren't able to go outside, no, at all. So you need to show in your feed situations that are basically homemade. So you create the home workout. But if in Germany you are able to go outside, you can also say, go to the park and do this workout. So for sure, the idea it's similar. So workout live, but the the way it was basically prepared, it was adapted to the market.
Mm-hmm.
So I will say that I mean, it's Europe. It's not like Germany, China, Argentina, or Canada. Europe, in some way, we are similar. So you can understand that there's a similar pattern that you can adapt
Yeah.
from the global strategy. It's not, I mean, it's not, also UK, it's quite different from Europe, continental Europe. But when it comes from Germany, France, Spain, you know better than me, and Italy are very similar. So, and it's also Western countries. So it's very similar to adapt. For
Right.
sure, you can adapt in a different way.
Right. Definitely. Does that mean, in terms of putting this into action, do you have different fan pages per market, or how are you engaging with local audiences?
Yes, we have different pages for market. And
Okay.
that's something that helps basically because it depends what kind of audience you want to approach. But I will say that at least Italy and Spain, you might say, and France are not very English friendly. So, like Germany. So, I would say that a German copy in English, sometimes I can see that it has like some English text. In Italy, it's okay, but not okay. So, I will say that it's much better always to adapt your communication in Italian.
Okay. So to translate
For
your
Italy.
communication to Italian or to other local languages as well.
Totally.
I'm from
First of
Spain.
all,
So.
performance ads. Performance ads definitely in the mother tongue because you don't know what is gonna happen. You know, it's the first approach. So you want to be sure that people understand what you're saying.
Right.
And if you go for English, I will say that yes, you approach some people that can understand, but maybe they're not that interested into something just for Italian market.
Okay. That makes complete sense. I do want to talk about how you are marketing a vegan friendly product. So, what makes it unique or challenging to market vegan friendly products compared to marketing other types of products, which are much easier to understand or have a larger user base?
I don't believe that having a larger user base it's something good.
Okay.
Just to be sure, I believe, and this is something that I tested in the past, where I was basically managing the Facebook chatbot with
Hmm.
an amazing tool that I suggest, ManyChat. when I was working on niches, it was very, very easy to get what I want.
Okay.
When I was going on the mass, I'm just anyone else. And if I were like a brand born in the 70s, in the 60s, it's okay to be mass. But when you're like a brand that just born, like Oceans Apart, that was basically founded 2 years ago, I will say that going on a niche is something very, very helpful and a win-win.
Okay. So it's valuable. So
Yeah,
you would suggest that even for large companies, it's better
definitely.
to zoom into your audience, target that audience, and create a small community rather than trying to target everybody at the same time and through the same way.
It's not gonna work. I'm sorry to say, but it's not gonna work. Like, just don't think that everyone have the same needs. Every one of us have different needs.
Yeah.
It's on us to understand what kind of needs. And just believe me that also even inside the vegan niche, there's a lot of differences. So just to let you know, there must be also some allergies, because for sure there are people that have allergy to some kind of textile or some food or whatever. Or it can be also that they are more into, I don't know, the color. In the case of Oceans Apart, it can be all black, or it can be all pastel, it can be fluo. So you can create those kind of niches also inside the niche. And that's also like a more winning strategy, because then it's basically, you understand that I made this product just for you. Just believe me, I'm one of them that always wear black. If you create just a basic black, I say, okay, you just want to get the black niches. But then you create something black with some details that emphasize on more and more and more what I want to have when I have this product. No, I want to feel when I have this product. Then I just understand that it's something made just for me. That I want that kind of details, and I'm not just a basic standard user with a flat black, I don't know, leggings or top or bra in this case.
Oh, interesting. I could go on and on about this all day, but unfortunately, our time is limited during this interview. Perhaps we'll have the opportunity to have a follow-up interview in the near future about how your social media strategy is performing and doing after more time at Oceans Apart, once you're able to
Very welcome.
analyze that analyze that data. But before we finish up the interview, I do want to ask you one last question about social networks, and then we'll move into a set of rapid fire questions as well. What do you think is missing in the world of social networks?
I think that as a social media manager, I might say that also us sometimes we need a break. That it means that we need some tool that can be basically open to do everything in once. I'm just saying about the schedule. I'm just saying about the analysis. There are some tools are quite expensive, but they don't do them all. Just imagine, just to schedule stories. I always have intern and people that's saying, we want to publish the stories on Sunday, but according to everyone, Sunday is Sunday, So sometimes it will be also nice to understand how you can approach this kind of topic, because it looks all machine, it looks like all well done. But if we want to go, and I don't know, also by late evening, 9 o'clock, 7 a.m., 6 a.m., because we want to approach people that are basically waking up earlier.
Right.
So we need more tool that allows us to schedule and analyze how these things are going.
Right. Absolutely. Okay, well, we are moving into our set of rapid fire questions. The next three questions we'll be asking about your recommendations. So it is in line with our previous question. I would like to talk about an app or tool that you can't work without or that you can't live without. Meditation tools are perfectly fine as well. Whatever helps you create that life and work balance, or whatever helps you to do your job even better.
More than an app, actually, yeah, it's an app. Its name drops, and it doesn't have anything with social media. But since I'm living in Germany and I still can speak German, it's basically an app that allows you to learn a language or more words in just 15 minutes, and it's working. But I do not in German. I do with a language that I will never, basically, I think, learn, that it's Hebrew. So in some way, it helps me basically to memorize stuff that it's very, very difficult to memorize. So different alphabet, different sounds
Yeah.
from my typical sound. And this helps me to basically train my memory.
How interesting. How original. What an original
Yeah.
response. Okay. What about a marketing influencer in Europe that you follow and that inspires you?
In Italy, I love Giulia Calcaterra. It happened that I started to work with her. I met her for work, and I can say that sometimes I also write her like privately and say that we are like social friends. I love her because she's very constant in what she does. She does something that it's very unique in Italy, and I might say also all over the world. So
Mhm.
I say follow Giulia Calcaterra. I'm not paid for that. It's not AD, but really, I love her the way she basically communicates a new kind of way, female and the sport fitness, very empowerment. I love her.
Wonderful. And the last question of today's interview will be a hashtag that you're constantly referring back to for inspiration or that you just find very valuable information from.
It's not an hashtag, what I will say, but since I want to approach also to community manager, I will say that a very basic tip is to follow creators by Instagram.
Okay.
It's a valid profile that even though it looks sometimes that are very standard tip, these standard tips sometimes we just missed as social media manager. Because we say, yeah, we can do it. Yeah, I know that. But do you do? Do you do properly? And sometimes it's very helpful. So I will say to follow creators on
Okay.
Instagram that it's very valuable as I wouldn't say like, hashtag is very volatile. It's changed a lot, and it depends also from the period. So I wouldn't stick to the to an hashtags, but to a profile that it's always ready to rearrange the communication that we do.
Okay, wonderful. Well, those are wonderful tips, Vincenzo. Thank you so much for joining us today on the Content Mix and for sharing your insights with our audience. It was a pleasure to have you here.
Same here. Thank you so much, and I hope to be helpful for the next community manager, future of community manager, but for sure also for my colleagues. And for sure, we'll keep in touch.
Absolutely. And to everybody listening in today, thank you so much for joining us on the contentmix.com. For more perspectives on content marketing industry in Europe, check out the contentmix.com and keep on tuning in because we will be releasing interviews just like this one every week. So see you next time and stay tuned for more. Bye.